Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 12 of that 7-part series of tutorials in computer structured programming in C and Pascal. This is section 1 of 3 in the topic program writing. My name is Memeji M, or you can simply call me Emediswap. In this tutorial, we are going to look at the content of structured programming, which includes the IDE environment in Pascal, as well as in Visual Studio C++. We shall also look at the steps of creating and executing a program. In addition, we are going to look at summarized contents of structured programming. Let's commence by looking at what we call IDE environment, or Integrated Development Environment. This is an environment that is provided by a programming language, and it provides the programmer with various utilities that play certain key roles in the programming process. It is usually a term commonly used in the programming world to describe the interface and environment that we use to create our programs. It is called integrated because we can access virtually all of the development tools that we need from one screen called interface. It is commonly known as the designer environment or the program. Let's now look at what we call the Pascal's IDE. To load the Pascal's IDE, for example, to load the Taro Pascal program, click on Start button and then search for Pascal from the list of available options. Or just right-click on its icon from the desktop if it's available and click on Open. You can also directly search for it through the search button, depending on the windows that you are making use of. Simply put, search Start Pascal in the same way you start other programs. In other words, just start Pascal in the same way that you start other programs in your computer, as long as it is installed. If it's not installed, get Turbo Pascal software and install it, and then load as I have just explained. The Pascal's IDE is made up of a number of components, which includes the following menus: File, Edit, Search, Run, Compile, Debug, Tools, Options, Window, and Help. Some components or submenus that can be selected from some of those menus include: from File menu, you have New. You can open a source code. You can save your source code. You can change directory where you store your files, and there's also Exit. So we have New, Open, Save, Change dir or change directory, and we also have Exit. From the Edit menu, we have the Undo, which is used to reverse to what you had already done. We also have Redo. We have Copy, we have Cut, and we have Paste. Under Run, we have Run, Step Over, Trace Into, Go to Cursor, Program Reset, and we have Parameters. Under Compile, we have Compile, Make, Build. Under Debug, we have Breakpoints, Watch, Output, user screen, and watch, and breakpoint. Under options, we have compiler, memory sizes, linker, debugger. Under help, we have contents, compiler directives, reserved ones, error messages. Then we can look at Visual Studio's C or C++ IDE. The Microsoft Visual Studio provides IDE that is used to code C programs. The C programs are normally coded using the Microsoft Visual Studio C++ IDE. Therefore, make sure to install any version of Microsoft Visual Studio with the C++ program, such as Visual Studio 6.0 or any other. Then search for Microsoft Visual C++ and click on it. In other words, start Microsoft Visual C++ in the same way that you start any other program. The C++'s IDE is used in the coding, compilation, and execution of C programs. However, to enable the compiler differentiate between C and C++ programs, you must save all your programs in C with an extension which is .c. In other words, when you code your source code using a C++ program, you save it with .c, because if you don't save your file with .c, the compiler will assume that it is a C++ code. For example, if you are creating a program for calculating perimeter, you are coding a program to calculate perimeter, or for example, a circle or any other object, you type it as perimeter.c. So you add .c at the end of the name. This IDE employs a variety of different components used to present information about the program you are developing. It is usually termed as a project. Some of those components are usually accessed through various menus. These menus include File, Edit, View, Insert, Project, Build, Tools, Window, Help. Some components or submenus that can be selected from some of these menus, and especially in Visual Studio 6.0 for C++ include A, File. Under File, we have New, Open, Save, Close, Open Workspace, Recent Files, and Recent Workplaces. You use New whenever you want to start a new program. You use Open, or you click on Open when you want to access a file or a program you had created earlier and you wanted to display it or load it on your screen. We use Save to ensure that your work is stored for future reference. Close is used to close the program that you are working with or the file that is open. Open Workspace is used to load that environment, an integrated environment that gives you all the required tools that you want to use or that you're going to use in working with your source code. Recent files displays the files that you have used recently, and recent workplaces indicates the entire environment. In other words, it indicates or loads all what you had used in your previous program. In other words, recent workspaces displays the workspaces for the projects you are working with recently. We have edit menu. At the edit, we have undo, redo, copy, cut, paste, and delete. These ones are usually used in the same way that we use them in other word processing documents. Under view, we have full screen, workspace, and output. Under project, we have set active project, and to project, export, make file. I'll be explaining on the use of these menus and submenus in my presentations or in this series of tutorials. Number E, we have a menu we call build. Under build, or when you click on build, you'll be able to see compile, build, rebuild or start debug, and we have execute. Under tools, we have error lookup. Under window, we have new window, close, and close all. Let's now look at the steps that we're supposed to follow when creating a file or your source file, either using Pascal or C, as well as executing the program or what you do to run that program. So the trainees should observe a demonstration on the steps to follow in creating and executing a program in Pascal and in C. In other words, the following are the set of steps that you're supposed to follow to create your program in C or in Pascal. In Pascal, you begin by clicking on Start, Thorough Pascal Program. In other words, you start Talbot Pascal program in the same way you start any other program. So start Talbot Pascal program using any of the methods that I've already explained. When you open Pascal or when you start Pascal program, it opens what we call the Pascal's integrated development environment, or that environment that provides with all the tools that you are supposed to use to work successfully on your program. Secondly, you click on File menu on the screen or on the window that will be open, and then New. Once you click on New, a new screen or a screen will appear in which you can type the set of instructions that you want. In other words, the set of instructions that form your source code. So type the set of instructions on the editor that will be displayed. Once you type your instructions, remember, save them. So save your program, or in other words, save your source code. Number 5, once you are through with typing your instructions and you have saved that file so that in case of power loss or failure, you don't lose your work, you can then proceed and select Compile from Compile menu. Compile is for compilation purposes. In other words, this is where you invoke the compiler to be able to go through your source code and convert it respectively. So a status box pops up displaying the compilation progress results. It may display success or error message. Number 6, press any key to continue if compilation is successful, or debug your program in case a bug message is displayed, and compile the program again until it is successful. Success status box indicates that the compiler has successfully translated your source code to object code ready for execution. Once that is successful, step number 7 is select Run from the Run menu to execute the program. So Run from the Run menu is the one which now invokes the processor to act on the object code. Or in other words, once you click on Run after successful compilation, then that executes your program. So number 8, perform any tasks prompted for by the program. In other words, as your program is executing, certain information may be displayed on the screen. For example, you may be requested to enter a certain value, like enter radius, etc. So you interact with the program as you do what it is requesting. What about in C? How do we move about creating our program as well as executing it? So start Microsoft Visual C++, for example, 6.0 program in the same way that we start any other program in your computer. When that Microsoft Visual C++ program opens, in fact, what you'll be opening is its IDE, its Integrated Development Environment. Step 2, once Microsoft Visual Studio or C++ 6.0 has been displayed, or any other C++, click on File menu and select New, because you want to start a new program. You want to start a new source code. Number 3, select Files tab from the new window. Then select C++ source file in the listing shown. Select C++ source file in the listing shown. Then type the name of the new program's file, but remember to add .c in that name, because .c is the extension that will be indicating to the compiler that the program is C program and not C++ program. And therefore, type the name of the new program's file with the .c extension in the file name text box. Under location, choose the directory in which the file will be stored. Then click OK. After that, you can type the set of instructions or your set of instructions, or in other words, you can now type your source code in the editor displayed while saving the changes. Just as I've said in my previous presentations in this series, I said don't start typing your instructions directly on the editor, but type your source code on a piece of paper or in an exercise book. Then go through that source code, go through your program manually, doing what we call desk checking. So dry run your program. Go through your program that you have written on a piece of paper, checking for any errors and making any corrections where necessary, as well as producing some output on your piece of paper. Once you are comfortable, that's where now you move on. You start either Pascal or C++ IDE, and then you transfer your source code the same way it is in the piece of paper onto your screen or onto your editor. And then you save your changes. Once you are through, compile the source code by selecting Compile from the build menu. Remember, I have said compiling is that step where you invoke the compiler to go through your source code, check whether it is okay. If it has any errors, it is going to report. If there are no errors, it will proceed and convert your source code into an object code. And then, if prompted to create a default project workspace, select yes. Then debug the program in case any errors are displayed and compile it again. Debugging, I said in my previous presentations in this series, that to debug is that process or the steps that you take to identify your error and then make corrections to that error as is required in the program's syntax. Once you are through, select the build option from the build menu. The compiler will convert the source program into object program. Select Execute from the below the menu to execute or run the object program. Then perform any tasks that you will be prompted for by the program. Note that whereas I've outlined various steps in C++, some of them may vary depending on the version of C++ that you are using. My steps are mostly based on Microsoft Visual Studio C++ 6.0, but they also apply to other versions. However, in case there's any variation, for example, if you're using Microsoft Visual Studio C++ 2010, in the case there are any slight changes, just look for where the various options are and adjust your steps accordingly. What are the contents of structured programming? So in nutshell, or in summary, the following are the contents of structured programming. This is because from 1960s onwards, structured programming and modular programming in general have been promoted as techniques to improve the maintainability and overall quality of imperative programs, and with certain specific contents, or there are certain elements that make you say that this is a structured programming language. So the contents of structured programming include the following. Number one are identifiers. So it includes what we call identifiers. Identifiers have been covered in my previous presentations, but in a nutshell, they are the names of your variables and modules. Number two, we have arguments and return types of procedures and functions. Number three, we have related comments that inform a programmer about what each section of the program does. Then we have procedures and functions, with each of these subroutines performing a certain task. Number five, we have different types of control structures that control the flow of instructions or of instructions execution. We also have procedures and function calls that invoke the execution of procedures and functions as needed. Number seven, we have a control function that controls all the other functions in the program. In Pascal and even in C, we called it the main function, the main function. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of section 1 of 3 in this topic. You can now continue and listen to the next part in this series of presentations, which is section 2 of 3 for the topic. Congratulations for learning section 1 of 3 of the topic by the title, Program Writing. You can also access section 2 and 3 of this topic, other topics in the computer structured programming unit, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on MLSwap ICT YouTube channel below this video. You can also visit MLSwap Live Skills YouTube channel for free live skills, motivational and inspirational resources. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me, and let's meet in the next part of the series. God bless.